Hello and welcome to another Modern League. So Fury and Up to Beanstalk just got banned today, so we'll be seeing no more scam unless it's of the black-white variants. And also to Pioneer, Karn got banned. So we're going to see if now that Karn is too good for Pioneer, if it can hold its own in Modern. So we're going to be playing the Pioneer list, but with some Modern upgrades to see if we can make it work in the format. So talking about some of the different things that we have to the Modern that we don't have access to in Pioneer. Starting at the lands, we have access to fetch lands. These are actually helpful in a deck like this where we have things that look at the top 3, things that look at the top 5, a lot of different options to kind of get through our deck. Actually thinning that deck of lands is pretty important. So we're just playing 4 fetch lands. Don't really need to be hurting ourselves too much with mana basing, getting that many fetches out. This is also a big mana deck, so don't want to thin the deck too much. We are only playing 21 lands. We want to make sure we have plenty of amount of fetchable lands to lands that can fetch. So just playing the four fetch lands. Then when the other upgrades we get is in the 1-drops, so we don't have to play any of the 1-mana elves, which die really easily, especially in this format, to the Bowmaster, and though we don't have to worry about Fury anymore, Renin 6 is still in the format, so that is really good at killing 1/1s for basically free. It doesn't actually cost him a card. I did have a list where I tried the Dryad Arbor, and it was good when it actually got to work, but it dies to too many free spells. Too many things that are just free for the opponent. Playing a Bowmaster and just killing the token at like essentially no cost to them. They still get a 2 1/1s. Just wasn't good value, and also the issue is just drawing it late or storming into it. It doesn't give you that mana right away. So Utopia Sprawl is definitely a big upgrade to the 1-mana creatures that it is an enchantment. It's also the main reason why we're running so many basics is we really want to be putting these Utopia Sprawls and these other enchant lands on our basic forest. With Boseiju in the format, with the Field of Ruins, there's a lot of just non-basic land destruction. There's not a lot of basic land destruction, so really just want to be having that fine amount of basic forest for Utopia Sprawls. The other slight upgrade to the deck is Furrow Ground. This basically is the same as Wolfhaven. The only thing is that when we tap it for mana, we can actually add any color mana to our mana pool rather than just green, which does help if we want to try to get Engineer Explosives or if we're trying to cast our blue-white spell in our mono green deck. Other than that, it's just a Wolfhaven that doesn't have that. You can pay 5 mana to make a 2/2, but I've played the Pioneer list. Whenever I'm paying 5 mana to make a 2/2, in Pioneer, it already felt bad. In Modern, you're basically already lost if you're paying 5 mana to make a 2/2. So not really that big of a downside of losing that to be able to get the colored mana to have better EEs or the blue-white spell. Also in Pioneer, we get access to Eternal Witness. This has been really good in the deck, bringing back storms, getting to potentially storm into Eternal Witness, bring back storm with Eternal Witness, and then storm again in that same turn if you create enough devotion. And then also just being able to get back fetch lands is nice. Being able to get back Nykthos if they do Boseiju it or kill it in some way is nice. And it is a double pith, double green card, so that is also helpful for the devotion. You can even witness back witnesses just to kind of build up some of that devotion. It is only a 2/1, so it does also die to Ren and Bowmaster, but you just get so much value out of it even if it does die. That against those matchups, probably side out 1 or 2 if they are a Bowmaster deck, but otherwise it's really helpful for the deck as well. And then the big changes to the upgrades we get to Modern are in the 4-drops. Getting access to the One Ring in this deck is really good, with Kiora being able to untap the ring and tap it again. If you turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, you can go turn 2 Kiora into a turn 3 ring, untap, and tap again with the ring on turn 3. So you get to draw 3 cards at first turn, and then you get to untap it again, tap to draw another 3 cards. If you really want to, you could Kiora and tap it again. It's just really a lot of value with the ring and being able to untap it with Kiora, and then also being able to tap it with Teferi and untapping a land to spend the mana. So you're untapping the ring to draw more cards, and then you're untapping your land to tap to play those cards you're drawing. The downside is without playing the elves or any of the mana creatures, the untapping a creature part normally is pretty wasted on Teferi. Tapping down a creature is also normally pretty wasted, but the gaining 2 life is relevant in the format as well. And then the other really good 4-drop that we get for the deck is Garruk, Wildspeaker. Being able to untap 2 lands makes it really easy just to, if you're not familiar with the combo and with the Chain Veil and the sideboard, being able to activate all the Planeswalkers, Garruk and Kiora really make it easy. It's just to untap 2 lands, especially if one of them is your Fairground or Utopia Sprawl lands and Nykthos. You can easily tap both of them again, make a lot of mana. There's also a double green card for your Devotion. Oftentimes you can just play it for free off your Utopia Sprawl or Nykthos mana. And then it being plus to untap the 2 lands just really makes it easy to use Kiora to untap the Chain Veil, tap the Chain Veil, use Garruk, make mana, use Kiora, untap Chain Veil, and then just generate so much mana. It's pretty easy to go infinite, but you don't even need to necessarily, just in the amount of mana that it can generate. And then Genesis Wave, I like it as a 1-of in the deck. It's good as a big put all my mana into spell, and then just everything in the deck except for Storm is a permanent that we can put on the battlefield with Genesis Wave. So it's and even Storm, putting those in the graveyard is not bad because we can still flashback it, and then putting in multiple things at the same time. If we hit 2 Kioras and one of our Old Growths, they actually are on the battlefield simultaneous for 1 point. So we could draw multiple cards with multiple Kioras plus Old Growth all entering the battlefield at the same time. So that's the main deck and the changes from the upgrades that we get to Modern. As far as the sideboard, Walking Ballista, great upgrade to easy combo win. The Modern version gets pretty clunky when you're trying to do the combo, and you have to try to stone brain them out of the game, especially if you're trying to play that online. Very time consuming, a lot of clicks, just not a fun combo to do. Walking Ballista is really easy just to make a ton of mana and play a really big Walking Ballista and kill them with that. It also is a really good win con against the ring, because if they have protection, you can wait until their upkeep, and during the upkeep, after the ring wears off, remove all your counters from Walking Ballista and kill them. Another nice Modern upgrade is the Bridge. It's a really good card to get to just try to stop them from winning the game, give yourself a little bit more time, prevent some of those big Titan decks from being able to attack into you while you set up, and you don't really win by combat, so Bridge is just an easy include to try to stall out until you win the game. Liquid Metal Coating is another really good addition to Modern that you don't have access in Pioneer with Karin. Explosives is another modern, pretty good one. Normally, maybe just like explosives for 0 to kill some tokens. Maybe for 1, but with the foreground, you could do explosives for... I mean, you could do explosives for 5 if you have enough foregrounds and ways to untap it. And then Sundering Titan's also another really good against Dryad. It is... reason I've been back and forth between if I do want to play Yavimaya or not. Yavimaya does make my Nyctosis forest, it makes my Boseiju and my Lair forest, but it's still not anything, even though those are forests, so not really things I want to play Utopia Sprawl on. It did make it better when I was playing Arbor, because then Nyctos would be a forest and I could actually untap Nyctos with the Arbor, and it does make it better with Sundering Titan, because I can actually destroy any of their lands. But the downside of giving my opponent green mana if they are on green, and then just being another land I don't want to put Utopia Sprawl on, I decided against it, but it's still pretty close to be able to add. And then Veil of Summers, good against counter magic, good thing that we got in Modern that is banned in Pioneer. So that's the list in the sideboard we'll be playing today, where we'll see if, now that Karin is banned in Pioneer and Fury is banned in Modern, how well this deck will do in the new Modern meta. See you in Game 1. We won the die roll, so we'll be on the play for game number 1. Always a good thing. Opening hands, pretty alright. It doesn't have any payoffs. It does have the turn 1 Oath to maybe try to find the Karin or payoff Planeswalker. But it does have 2 fetches to try to thin our deck. The turn 2 ramp, the turn 3 ramp, Witness to maybe get some fetches and thin our deck some more. So not a bad starting hand. Just a little heavy on lands and light on threats. Start off with the fetch, thin the deck, grab a forest, play the Oath. And only choice here is Cure, so go ahead and put that in hands and pass to them. Basic island, go. Another fetch, definitely not ideal. Play out a fetch. Play out the Fertile Grounds and the Island Cycle for Breeding Pool. They play the Breeding Pool. They shock it in for a Crushing Foot, so it is Rhinos. Alright, so this turn we get to play Cure. Untap Fertile Ground, play Fetch, and play out a Troll and draw a card. Pretty good turn 3 there. They go turn 3, shock and pass. Okay, so we can play this to Fairy with this Fertile Ground, but we can also try to play one of these Witnesses, get back up a fetch, and try to thin our deck some. If we float this white mana here, play Eternal Witness, bring back to fetch, and then we can untap the Fertile Ground, and then tap it, and then play the fetch, and then play it to Fairy. But they do have the Trick Bender here, so they get to stop that, and we just play it to fetch, go ahead and crack it now. And I'm more interested in blocking this Trick Binder than I am dealing the 4 damage to them, so I don't have the Nyctos yet, but I don't want to lose my Eternal Witness. and these fetches are kind of hitting my life total quite a bit, so I don't want to just take this 3 either. So rather just sit back and hold up my blocker. Okay, another fertile ground isn't ideal, but it does allow us to play this Teferi. So similar plan as asked. Tap that for the 2 mana for Teferi. Play out Kiora. Play a new one because I can't use this old one with Tidebender still here. Which maybe them not wanting to attack into Tidebender because it opens back up Kiora would have been a reason to attack in with the Growth Troth. They wouldn't have attacked with Tidebender into the Witness. But with them playing like Dead and Gone, they can just dead my Witness and then still attack in. So I really just don't need to be doing anything super aggressive against them. So untap Kiora, they don't have another Tidebender, which is good. They also didn't have Force, which is good. So let's see if they have a Force for this. Play out Teferi. No Force. I could plus up, tap their guy, untap. Not really too much value there, rather just kind of puts this low. Really good top 3 cards. I really want all 3 of them. Unfortunately, can only take 1. So the Nykthos doesn't really do much. We make a ton of mana, but no payoffs to do anything with it, especially with Kiora and Teferi being able to untap it. Karin is good here, but Storm just seems like the better thing. It get lucky. Storm could also get us Karin and Nykthos. It could be both. So yeah, Storm, you never know what you're going to get, but it could be a Karin and a Nykthos. So pick up the Storm here, put the other 2 on bottom. And this is again where like the fetches come in. Like if we had the fetch here to shuffle that and increase the chances of seeing those 2 cards in the Storm, it would definitely be better. And they have the Violent Outburst, so they get some Rhinos here. And then they dead the Witness. And they auto the Old Growth, allowing them to attack in here, killing both our Planeswalkers. It is kind of a nice fog effect here. Like that's 11 points of damage. That could have put us down to 5. So, I mean, it's not ideal losing both of them. We just lost a lot of mana, but it's still not dead. So, another Storm pickup. Go and play out this first one. They have 2 cards left. Really hope it's not a blue spell plus a Force of Negation. It is not. So the one ring is good, except I don't get the ETB trigger here because I will be playing it not from my hands. And then getting this Grook and this Kiora actually gives me enough mana to play out another Storm, which is nice. So play those. Tap this fertile ground, untap it. Again, just seeing this power of the Grook in Modern, it's just so good there. Like I don't even have Nykthos, and I'm able to generate a lot of mana. So I did get the Karin this time. Still no Nykthos though, but Old Growth is a good blocker here. So I can, and it doesn't appear that they have the Force, so definitely is good for us too. The One Ring's a good pickup because this one I'll actually be able to cast, and then just minus here for Engineer Explosives. Now there's a lot of things here to play around. They could have another Tidebender. It's main deck. I don't think they're going to have the Force. Mainly just scared of another Tidebender. So I could try to do it now, but they do have a Footfalls that is going to be coming off of Suspends during their upkeep. It is a little bit of riskier to wait until their upkeep when the Footfalls goes. But also, if they do have the Tidebender, I kind of would rather them use it on this explosive rather than any of these Planeswalkers. So I'm okay if they do have the Tidebender, and I get to keep my planeswalkers. So the attack is all at me, which kind of seems like they don't have the Tidebender, otherwise they'd try to be taking out the planeswalkers. I don't know, but it's a clear blocker and attempt to use the explosives and see if they have the Tidebender, and they don't seem to have it because they scoop game 1. For sideboarding with this deck, really the only two sideboard cards, or the only 4 sideboard cards to bring in are the 2 Veil of Summers and the 2 Haywire Mites. Everything else is pretty much a Karn target. So in this matchup, we do bring in the 2 Veil of Summers. Not really worth it to bring the Haywire Mite. Maybe if we see Blood Moons, it would be worth it to bring them in, but even then, they're still a fine sideboard target. Maybe if we do see the Blood Moon, a 1-1 split, 1 in, 1 sideboard, but here, Genesis Wave, it's just slower against them, and they do have counter magic, so it's not as good. And then Oath, the 4th Oath is normally one of my go-to side-out cards. They're good, but depending on the matchup and everything, they're one of the weaker cards to have the 4th of. So we are on the draw this time. Not as ideal. Not a great hand. Pretty slow. Does have the Veil, and we are on the draw. So I'm gonna try it, but not a great hand. They do have the turn 1 Crushing Footfalls on the play. Pretty good. Play it to Heath. Crack it at a turn. Get a basic forest. So they go to ice my forest. I want to draw into a threat here, so denying them a card draw and giving myself a card draw here. They still get to tap down my forest, like that part of it still works, but I deny them a draw and I give myself a draw. So end up getting another fetch, play it, and pass it back. Now I do get punished here for holding off on the fetch. They get to trick bind or Tidebinder. My fetch slows me down a bit. Draw another Veil. And it's not really worth it to play with these Burning Trees right now. Not with them playing Dead and Gone and other things that can kill it. I'd rather just play them out on the same turn. Play them both out on the same turn than play Nykthos and just kind of like surprise 4 mana. So I'll hold them. And ideally, if I can do that while still holding up Veil, that's the most ideal thing. Take the 3, go to 15. And then, again, just that being able to play Burning Tree into Nykthos and holding up a Veil to play the Grook is what I want to try to be doing. Just playing Burning Tree into a Grook with no mana for the Veil, not as ideal. So play at the Oath, that's going to give me 1 devotion for the next turn when I go double Burning Tree, and then it can also help me try to find a lands for the turn. Unfortunately, it whiffs. No legal targets. So put all 3 of those on the bottom, and then just play out my Nykthos. Next turn, still be able to go Burning Tree into Nykthos, make 5 mana, Burning Tree, make some more mana. Definitely potential augmenter. So, yeah, they resolve their footfalls, attacks in for 3, put me down to 12. I draw into the forest, which is good. Play that for the turn. Play at this Burning Tree, and they do have the subtlety, and they're able to actually play it. So try to Veil here, prevent them from being able to counter it, so I can play out my hands. And they do have the force, so even if they didn't have the force, be able to play Burning Tree into Burning Tree, into Grook, untap, tap. Would have been able to make quite a bit of mana. I guess still EE had some 2/2 Burning Trees. Like it would have been in too bad of a spot, but they did actually have both the subtlety and the force plus the brazen bar to pitch to the force. Like they had a pretty good pile of cards here against whatever I had, so they end up picking up game number 2. Game number 3 on the play, no changes to sideboard. Good starting hand here. We've got some payoffs, got some ramp, got a pretty good, and we're on the play. Pretty good place. They mulligan down to 6. They put 1 on the bottom. Play at the fetch for basic forest, and actually should have played the Utopia Spar here. I misclicked and played the 1/1 drop, so I start off with an Oath. But yeah, Utopia Sprawl definitely was the better of the two to start on. Pretty good 3 cards here. Don't really need the lands, so it's kind of between the Witness and Burning Tree, and Burning Tree is just kind of the better thing right now, so grab that up. We got fetch. Second Karn's not really great draw. Play it to lair now while it still comes in on taps. Use that mana to now play the Utopia Sprawl. And then, contradictory to what I said game 2 about playing out the Burning Tree, I do decide to just play it out here into their 1 mana dead. I had the thought of like if they do want to spend their 1 turn here to fetch and shock to get to dead, it's probably worth it. And that's exactly what they do. I don't know if it's worth it for me to have done that, but definitely worth it for them. They used up their mana effectively on turn 1. They don't have the ice for turn 2. Play out the forest. If they are playing Boseiju, I just don't want to open up the Nykthos right now when it's not actually adding mana. Attempt to play out a Karin. And they have the subtlety. I have the second Karin, so this is fine, just putting this on bottom. They do exile a subtlety with their subtlety, so that's 1 less of those. And then they fetch. They get a basic forest there. So they don't actually provide themselves with double blue. I don't know. They drew into the foothills. They could have got a basic blue with the basic island with the Misty and then gotten, some, I don't know. But they don't have double blue, so that's definitely good because that means no hard cast force. They may still have force, but now they got pitched a blue card for it. So able to play out the Karin. I play out the land first here, kind of bluff that maybe I had the Veil. They'll probably still try to counter it even if I don't have it. And they have the Violent Outburst, so Violent Outburst into the Rhinos. And no force, so Karn resolves. And I get out Engineer Explosives. Now, the tough decision of what to play around. I don't think they have a force because they let the Karin go. So I could play out this Explosives now while they probably don't have it. Their last 2 cards would have exactly the blue card plus force. But maybe they let Karin go through just because they're going to attack and kill it with Rhinos anyway, so they didn't need to. So I could play it out to play around the fact they probably don't have Force of Negation, but they could have Force of Vigor. So playing it out into Force of Vigor now, when I don't have the mana to sacrifice it, would definitely be bad. So I do opt to just hold on to it in case they are holding the Force of Vigor. They attack in, kill the Karin. Oath Ghost good here. It blocks a token really well, so play the Engineer Explosive. And they do have Force, so I don't know if they also had it last turn, and I could have played around it. Maybe they just drew into the blue card, but they do go down to one card, and they do end up exiling their Shardless Agent, so it's still pretty good for us. And then I do the math wrong here, because normally Old Growth is free, it's 3 mana, and it adds 3 mana to my Devotion. So I play that out instead of playing the Storm when they only have 1 card left in hand, so I know it can't be a counter for the Storm. And it's just a cycling a Triumph land. So yeah, I double make sure I did my math wrong, and I did, so it was another punt here. I probably should have played out the Storm instead of this Old Growth, but it's still fine. It is a 4/4. It's going to block and trade with a Rhino well, and then when it dies, it still gives me my Devotion. They play out their fetch land for the turn, and they attack into my Troll Warrior, so my 4/4 Trampler bucks their 4/4 Trampler. And then there definitely is a... I hardly ever actually use the sacrifice to make a 4/4, so it's normally just better to put it on the forest, and just kind of accept the fact that I won't be sacrificing it. Again, if I want to play it around the Force of Vigor, maybe put on the Passeju, so if they do try to kill it, I can at balance at least get a Rhino, but draw a Forest here. So at this point now, definitely have enough mana. I can Storm and have a lot of mana floating. Pretty good pickups here with Teferi and Kiara. I can minus Kiara or minus Teferi, get choice of... It keeps moving this bar as I'm clicking, so it keeps going from the forward thing to where it goes to play. I had some choices there. Veil, lands, or I forget what the other card was, but just protecting myself up with Veil seems like the better thing. I can make this layer into a bigger creature than their token, so untap the land with the growth over the Nykthos. I only need to make this layer 5/5, so untapping this forest with the Old Growth gives me enough mana that I can make layer 5/5 and keep up 1 mana for Veil. And if they do have a Force of Vigor, I can make a 4/4 and draw a card in response to them doing that. So go ahead and untap that and pass back to them. And their last card, or no, they draw for the turn, and it looks like they drew the fire. So they do end up getting to kill my Teferi, and then they actually suspend the footfalls here, which kind of makes me think maybe they don't have the Force. If they would suspend it, or they just have the 4 mana, so if they draw Force at this point, they can just cast it. Force of Vigor. So they seem to also now punt here, where they don't read what my cards do. They are completely tapped out of mana, so I know they don't have any kind of tricks. Or they have 0 cards in hand, so I know they don't have any tricks here, so I just make layer into a 5/5, and I get a free block. And then I draw another Nykthos. So they have 0 cards in hands. This Nykthos taps for essentially 6 mana. I mean, I'm paying 2 mana into it. It's netting me 4 mana. So I untap here again. I get another 4 mana up to 11, and then I can get another 4 mana up to 15. And then this layer I can make into a 14/14 and attack for 14. So yeah, don't even get to see the combo. Actually, just attack and go with the layer of Hydra. Just with a lot of mana. So we end up getting match 1 against Rhinos. Match number 2 of the No Fury New Modern. We won the die roll, so we'll get to be on the play. Pretty good starting hand here. Turn 2 Burning Tree into Fertile Grounds. Accept the Thoughtseize. Probably take the Fertile Ground here, but they actually take the Burning Tree, which is a little surprising. Makes turn 2 Fertile Ground that much better. And there's a Preordain. Shocking in a Watery Grave. Topia Sprawl. Just getting all the mana, no payouts though. The downside to this hand. Go ahead and play out a Kiora. And then could untap this, have tons of mana to do nothing with, so pass, they consider. Preordain. And a turn 3 7/7. Seems pretty good. We'll follow their turn 3 7/7 with a turn 4 Karin minus get bridge. Tap way more mana than I need to, so untap some lands there. Go down to keep one card in hands, definitely less than 7. Blue-black probably doesn't have a whole lot of ways to deal with this bridge main deck. Maybe Aurora. Get a Cityscape Leveler just in case they do have the Aurora. I can not have to worry about the Murktide. This Leveler's, not going to be attacking anytime soon under my own bridge, but so they do actually counter it here, so they deny me the draw with Kiora, which is part of the reason for the 8/8. Is I also want to just draw a card. And then they do have Bowmaster to unfortunately finish off the Karin, so that puts us to top deck mode. They've got 2 cards in hand, Preordain, try to find something, they get to attack in for 2. They attack in, put Kiora down to 1, and then Thoughtseize the second Kiora, so on top deck mode. Unfortunately with Kiora at 1, can't really do, play Old Growth and then untap with the draw trigger or anything like that, so just draw the card and then they get to ping it with Bowmaster. Don't actually get to use it before they ping it, and draw into a Nykthos. So again, just a lot of mana, kind of winning that payoff. Not playing the land for the turn, land for the turn, because I have Ode Growth. I can block their 1/1s easily. If they want to attack in with both and trade, that's fine. I'll take the 1 point of damage, even if they have the push. I'll still take the 1 point of damage and trade. Play out more mana, so I have a lot of mana here. They do nothing. Play out more mana. Interesting thing they could have done was make me draw 2 cards, putting more cards in my hands and dealing more damage with bow. But with me still at 18, that 4 damage with Bowmaster is probably not worth it to let me draw 2 cards. So they do just draw the 2 themselves. Probably the better move, definitely. But an interesting line. Drawing into more lands. So Lair is actually pretty good with bridge. I can make it a 1 power creature and attack under bridge, and then after attacks, after blocks, I can actually pay more mana into it. Issue is just they seem to be blue-black control and probably have some type of push or creature removal instant speed main deck, so I don't really want to lose my Lair to just attacking in with that line, especially when they just can chump block it pretty easily. And still have 4 cards in hand, and they're not playing anything, so probably some bit of a removal that they're just not worth it to use on these 2 creatures. And yeah, not much going on here, just hiding behind the bridge. Kioras, more mana. And okay, so one of the cards they're holding was a counterspell. I don't know how many more they're holding, or how many removal spells. Still not really worth it to attack in with the lair. Alright, so finally a payoff. Hopefully it's good. Not particularly. I don't have an oath yet, so just get another 4/4 and get a forest off of the oath. And then now can flashback storm. And it's weird they drowned the flashback rather than drowning the initial cast. They let me get some more mana for free, and then they counter it on the flashback. I guess they couldn't have. Yeah, it's only. No, yeah, they could have counted it. Yeah, I don't know the line. But back on top deck mode, and all right, another storm is definitely a good draw here. Get to do the same thing we did last turn. With double Bowmaster, Ring, and not getting ETB trigger on Ring, doesn't really seem like a good thing to get here. So definitely the Witness, because I can get back the Karin, and then either the Burning Tree or Oath. Oath may have been better just to get three looks at the top again, but end up just getting the more mana, getting the Burning Tree, and they 4 cards still in hand. They can see that to me getting back the Karin. I don't know what their cards in hand are. Maybe it's all just removal. But we end up getting game number 1. Game 2 against blue-black control. The Veil of Summer seem again good here. The Ring doesn't seem good against the Bowmaster strategy and just their overall strategy in general. So siding those out here. On the draw, pretty bad starting hand. A lot of things can go wrong. They could, Thoughtseize and get rid of our Oath. That's supposed to try to find those second lands, and then we could not find the second land, or they could turn one Stubborn Denier or Oath. Definitely not worth the keep here, so mulligan that down. Better starting here. Turn 1 Oath, turn 2 Burning Tree. Still kind of missing some stuff, but against a Thoughtseize deck, definitely better keeping this and going down to 5. Put a Storm on bottom, and we're a long way away from that. Turn 1 Fetch. Witness isn't too bad. Still would like to find our 3rd land. And yeah, there's the Stubborn for the Oath, so definitely a good thing we didn't keep the initial hands. That would have went quite poorly. Alright, there's the 3rd land we needed. Going to fetch for that now. And then, I know the last one said no, we don't like to play at the Burning Trees until I need to, but against the Bowmaster deck and control, I'd rather have the 2/2 creature out there. And then I don't actually even have the Nykthos right now to surprise a lot of mana, so just getting them out now and start attacking, shutting down their clock. Okay, so they have 3 mana. Definitely seems like they're holding some kind of interaction, so go and attack into it, see if it's a Bowmaster, if they want to trade a Bowmaster. token for Burning Tree. They do not, so I'll just play the top land. I don't really want to play the Witness. All I can get back is an Oath or a Heath anyway. Okay, so they are playing Death Shadow. Did not see that game one. Draw another land here, so I'll go and play this Witness, try to get back the Oath, try to find something. And they actually did counter that with their Drown, so they don't want me to find anything. Going to attack in here, they're tapped out. I do kind of forget how this damage works, where they lose life at the same time Death Shadow takes damage, so it ends up living. But at least it doesn't actually kill the. At least it's not. It just kind of bounces. It doesn't actually kill the Burning Tree, so it's not the worst trade or exchange there. And then here is a big Murktide. 5/5 Murktide. Not really worth blocking here. They're at 9, so I can kind of go a little bit aggressive. Nykthos is good here. I can make a lot of mana. And try to play this Karin. They do have Stubborn Dial. Sad that's not a another Drown, but it's a second Stubborn Dial. So think about activating the lair here, making another 2/2, attacking in for 6, putting them down to 3, which then puts them at attacking back for exactly 15. Not where I'm at 15, that's not really what I want to be doing, so not really worth attacking. Think about just attacking in with 2 creatures, but then they just block 1, take 1, go down to 7. Still not really a good attack. I could attack with all the creatures, and then again they could just take it, go down to 3, and attack back, and then I can't make lair blockers, so just kind of have to pass. Attacking for 5, putting me down to 10. Storms are right here. If it can resolve, they have 2 cards left in hand. Does get to resolve, and pretty good hit here with Karin and Grook. Get to untap the 2 lands. Make 8 mana. Use Karin to go get the Cityscape Leveler. But they have the Tidebender, which, again, 2 matches in a row. This card seems really good in the format, especially now, and it's just really good against this deck and really good against Ring, and yeah, it's annoying. So still have 10 mana, can still flashback the Storm, and not a great flashback here. Get an Oath and a Fairground. Put that Fairground on Forest, and then could get the Karin here, but I think getting the Witness to bring back the Karin that's already in the grave, especially when I've seen some Drowns already in their deck, I would rather get the Karin out of the grave. Again, not really good attacks here, especially when I'm afraid of the crackback attack. And then they attack for 5 at me, putting me down to 5. Not good. So now I've got to find something to deal with this Murktide. Old Growth does not deal with the Murktide, so they know about this Witness because I revealed it off the Oath. So I'd rather keep the Old Growth a mystery card, play out the Witness first. They let the Witness go, bring back Karin, Play new Karin to kill old Karin. And then now I can minus and get something to deal with the Regents. But they have another Tidebender for my other Karin. And play an Old Growth. Make a really big lair. 1919 lair, but it doesn't really matter. Unless they like misclick and don't block anything. And yeah, they don't misclick, they do block. They take 4 down to 5, and then they have a flyer. So they get game number 2. Game 3, no change to sideboard. Good starting hand here. We actually have Veil this time. Turn 1, Sprawl. Pretty good hand. Play Sprawl. Don't misclick this time by playing Oath first. They preordain. Fairgrounds, pretty good here. Play the Oath. Again, whiff. Sad. It's pretty actually unlikely to whiff too, so that's unfortunate. The more enchantments and less creatures does make it a little bit more likely for Oath to whiff, but still pretty unlikely. Their Thoughtseize here, takes Karin. Fetch lands. Just a little bit shy of being able to play a Witness and this Veil, and this Karin, as I would have hit something off Oath maybe, but so just play out the Karin and keep up Veil mana. And then again, just a little bit short of playing this Old Growth and then Karin, so I think about they're just playing Old Growth, holding this Karin back. I think playing out the Karin and then maybe try to do a liquid metal coating is worth it over just playing out the Old Growth. So play it with the Veil and minus. And then rather than having the counterspell, they have the Tidebinder again, like always. And the way it words, it targets the activated or triggered ability. So Veil doesn't actually give my triggered ability protection. And then it's a stat permanent, so it doesn't actually target the permanent either. It just targets the ability, and then that permanent can't activate it. So Veil does not help at all against that. So I just play at the Old Growth. And attack in, they're not going to trade, because then I get my Karin back online, so they just take the 2. Plus they're Death Shadow deck anyway, so they don't mind going below 13 life. They dismember the Old Growth, and then because now they're down to 5, I'm actually putting the Old Growth on a forest that I may end up sacrificing to make a 4/4 with them being at as low of life there. So they actually attack and kill the Karin. A little weird there. And then play it on Murktide. Teferi's pretty good here. So play out Teferi using the Oath. And then now I can plus up Teferi, tap down the Murktide, untap Forest, make a tapped 4/4, attack in for 3, or attack in for 2, put them down to 3, and then they attack, kill my Teferi. If they kill my Old Growth, I mean, I guess I would have protection with Veil against them killing my outgrowth. Seems like a decent line, but I decided to go for the -2 and look at the top 3 instead. And I do find another outgrowth, so end up playing that out. And then now I can either make a 4/4 or I can hold the Veil mana. Again, there are 5. It's really close between the two. I end up just holding up the Veil of Summer mana. Really tough line there. I don't know if the plus up, tapping, attacking was the better line or not. They do attack down, kill Teferi. I mean, they pretty much have to. If they don't attack the Teferi, then I just tap down their Murktide anyway. And then they have Voidwalker here. I draw Forest, not particularly good. Attack in. Seems like a pretty good attack here. Blocks. They take the 4 and go down to 1. And now, end of turn, I can make a 4/4 and still have this Veil as protection. Attack in with the Voidwalker. Keeping the Murktide on defense, make my 4/4. Drawing, still not great. Utopia's Fall, not good. Attack in. They block the real one. And then they have the Drown for the token. Go and Veil. And they have the Stubborn for the Veil. So, yep, they just have it all. And then I don't get to bring back the Troll because of this Voidwalker. Attacking for 7, putting me down to 9. They bring back the Witness to bring back Stubborn Denial, which pretty much gets rid of a lot of my outs here. Then they drop a 12/12, and I draw into another Utopia's Fall. So good series of draws there to end game 2 on lands, Utopia's Fall. They end up getting match number 2. On to match 3, we actually lost a die roll, so we'll be on the draw. Really bad starting hand here, easy mulligan, no lands. Again, no lands, easy mulligan, down to 5. Okay, 5 card starting hand here. I think the best thing is just to put the Storm and a lands on bottom and kind of hope to maybe draw into something good here. And it looks like Murktide kind of was afraid of this deck becoming a lot more popular again. Utopia's Fall is a good pickup here. Get some acceleration. So, no turn 2 play from them. Really kind of seems like holding up a counterspell. Definitely for showing that. So not going to play the Cure into the counterspell. I'm just going to try to play it the Burning Tree. I doubt this will get the counter, and it doesn't. And then just play the Photoground on the already tapped land. Not going to do anything with that 2 mana anyway. Okay, so not too bad. They use their second turn just to hold up a counterspell. Definitely even more so forecasting that they have the counterspell by the fact they played the Regavan this turn and didn't dash it. So of these cards, I think Kiora is probably the better one just to play into the counter. I considered the ring there for a second, but I think just getting the cure out. And then this one does eat up the counter, so they are down to 3 cards. They get to surveil a land into the graveyard. Okay, they play a land for the turn. Still 3 cards. They're not attacking the Regavane into this burning tree. The fairies, not too great here. We don't have the ability to cast it right now. Attempt to resolve the Grook. Grook actually resolves. And another 3rd Tidebender deck in a row. Really strange to see what this format has become without Fury. It's slowed down enough that now Tidebenders are in every deck. Unholy Heath. He kills Burning Tree, and they get to attack in for 8, maybe not to 10. Drawn to Old Growth. Play the 1 ring. And then they're fetching here in response to 1 ring, kind of, like they're getting another Tidebender, because it seems really good here. So tap to draw the card now before they get to Tidebender. And it's another Tidebender, so they get to counter the protection. They have 11 damage on the board, plus my 1 during upkeep. They got game number 1. For sideboarding, definitely want the Veil Summers, even though they aren't great against Tidebender. And the Mites are actually pretty good here. They do block Regavane, they gain some life. They may be playing Blood Moon, so they're a decent card to side in. So just siding out the Genesis Wave, it's slower and not as great against them. The Oath, always, one of the first ones to cut. And then here, just kind of the Witnesses. The Witness is going to be hard to kind of do anything with. Just a little slow still, and not too great. It's really hard to cut cards for the sideboard, which is why there's not much of a sideboard to really put in either. Alright, another really bad hand, so luck is definitely not helping this match, as well as this is already not a favorable match. Kind of a better hand, but still really bad, especially like if they just have the counterspell in turn 2, like we're just not doing anything with his hands fast enough. And we're on the play, so like really need something more aggressive to take advantage of the fact we're on the play. So mulliganing down again to 5 cards. And a little bit better. It's a 1 lander, but I mean we're already down to 5. Already unfavorable match. Put some of these on bottom. Yeah, put double Oath. As much as it helps find the land, it's not really too great. And then just the Burning Tree is not really what we are trying to do right now to try to get out of this bad of a hand. So play at the lair, Oath to try to find the forest. We do find the forest, that's good. Put these redundant Planeswalkers on bottom. And they do not have the turn 1 Regavane, definitely good there. Other Dragon Rage is still not great for us. No turn 2 drop, that's not great. They get to attack in for 1. And again, they're just representing that counterspell magic up. And trying to figure out the best thing to try to play into the counterspell. End up going try to play it to Kiora. And it's a spell pierce, not actually a counterspell, so they may have had the counterspell up too, if I would have tried to play the Old Growth. And yeah, so they're still just holding up that mana. Not playing anything. And so if I play out the Nykthos first, I can tap that for the colorless, and then I can use that to play Fertile Ground, and then I can use the Fertile Ground mana to play out the Old Growth. So play it like that. And they do have the counterspell for the Old Growth, so they're just, you know, having everything for everything that I have. Still 3 cards in hand. I have 1. They get to Preordain, do some Surveilling, then do some Scrying, and draw a card. They keep both on top. Draw into Burning Tree. Go ahead and play at the Burning Tree. It's free. Add that 2 mana. Use that 2 mana. Try to play Karin. And of course, I have the counterspell. Surveil that back on top. It's an Expressor. Yeah, so I have no cards in hands. They have like infinite cards now. Lightning Bolt. Attacking for 3. Draw another Burning Tree after putting 1 on the bottom already. Make their... So I can only make... Okay, makes their 4/4. They're tapped out, so, you know, it's a free attack in. They dash a monkey and Lightning Bolt and get in for 5, putting it onto 9. They get a Utopia Sprawl off the top, just so I can draw into the Fertile Ground. Play the Fertile Grounds on the already Fertile Ground Forest. I can layer, make it a 2/2, but they have Treasure open and 2 probably good cards in hand, so not really worth to just get in for the 2 damage here. At the risk of them having the Heat or Bolt or, you know, something. So they get in for 3, put me down to 6, actually cast the Regavan. Draw into a Haywire Might. Maybe can stall a turn here if, you know, they don't have something really good in their hands. Snapcaster, technically it doesn't win the game here. They can Snapcaster the counterspell, get some Surveil, and then attack in. I can block with the lair, but I mean, this just not a position where I'm going to come back from this. They're just, I'm too far behind, so pack up the game there. Try better luck in match number 4, where maybe we won't see any more of the Tide. Match number 4, we won the die roll, so good to be on the play. Pretty terrible hand here. A lot of lands. Get to thin the deck a little bit with the Heath and find the Oath, but I mean, maybe just the last match getting flooded or getting no lands kind of made me decide to keep a 5-lander, but end up do keep it and hoping a lot on this Oath, which finds a Burning Tree, not terribly bad. But then they have the turn 1 scam. Like, it's still a deck. It's not gone just because Fury's gone. Get punished for keeping a 5-land hand as they take away my only 2 non-lands, and now still have a 4/3 out. And then just unfortunate, after they take away my only non-lands, I draw into like the most expensive mana cost card in the deck, and then they just, you know, continue to play fast clock creatures. Burning Tree doesn't really do much here. It doesn't block either of their creatures, but it is a creature. Lair gets in for 1. Saga. So probably just mono black now. And then there's the most expensive card in the deck mana cost wise. So I mean, if I didn't get turn 1 2 of my cards taken from my hands, I could have actually been casting some of this stuff and doing things. I think about the Genesis for 1. I'm hoping to find maybe a land so that next turn I can actually play Storm and maybe try to get something. It's a very not good hope. And then rereading Genesis Wave, the cards that I don't cast with them will go to my graveyard, which will get exiled with Voidwalker. So just as much chance if I take of putting a land on top, I take of giving him something like a Karin that he can put in with Voidwalker. So it ends up not being worth it. Just not cast anything here. And then I attack in. They put me down to 1. I could block, but I mean, if I block, I'm just stalling. I'm getting rid of any opportunities I have of actually drawing some kind of thing that's going to get me out of this. And it would make me lose both my creatures, my Burning Tree and my Lair. They would still get to make a Saga token. I would go down to 4 life. Just not a good position to be in. So end up just taking it, going down to 1, hoping they don't have a way to kill Grief because I died of the Wicked. And I draw another Storm. Like, it's just unlucky. The get griefed scams when I have 5 lands in hand and then draw into all the expensive stuff in the deck. Just, yep, that's scam. Still doing scam things. So for sideboard, put in the 2 Veil Summers again, and put in the 2 Haywire Mites. I did see the Sagas, so Saga is definitely a reason for Haywire Mite. Took out the Burning Trees and the Oaths again. It's really tough to decide what to sideboard against this match, or sideboard out. Like, the deck's just, everything works well together, so. On the play. Again, just not a great hands. But against the Scams deck, I don't want to be mulliganing down. It doesn't. It's just such a risky hand, but I just don't like mulliganing against Scam. It's already really bad when they turn 1 scam you. It's even worse when they turn 1 scam you and you're on the play and you mulligan down cards. So I do lead on the Force, so I don't thin my deck of lands. Hope to draw lands, and they do have the turn 1 Grief Scam, so they get to pick out my 2 best cards of the hands, and I don't get to play Magic. I luckily top deck the Fertile Grounds. Does help a little bit. They attack in with Grief. And then a Burning Tree doesn't help at all. Play it. Doesn't block. Play Cura. Really would have liked to have had those 2 extra cards in my hands. And then there's another Grief. So they already pitched 1 Grief. Like, this deck's still a deck. It's just because Fury's gone and supposedly shortening the clock. Like, this is I guess a lot less likely without Fury, but it's still very unfair for the format. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not winning on the turn. It's just making it so you don't get to play. Coming from somebody who, plays the bridge and just prevents him from playing, I don't know. It's Magic. And there it again. When I don't have any lands, I draw my payoff. And I'm 1 mana shy of actually playing it too, but they've got 8 damage. It's still 2 very powerful creatures, and they took 4 cards away at cost of 4 cards. So I don't know. It's annoying. Losing to Scam still, even after supposedly they fixed it by banning Fury. Alright, last match. Either we win this and still go 2-3, not positive, but we get, something back, or this is a 1-4, we get nothing league. We are on the play, so that is definitely helpful. Starting hands, not too bad. With the turn 2 Feral Grounds, turn 3 Witness bring back fetch lands. Maybe Cure. Except the turn 1 Tutsis, so they take away our ramp. So now we don't have a turn 2, pass back to them, another Thoughtseize, so they take away our turn of witness. Draw into another turn of witness, so pretty easy here just to play a turn of witness, bring back a turn of witness. That way this second witness we can either bring back the Feral Ground or the Heath. It may make more sense to bring back the Heath, that way next turn we could go Karin. Or bring back the Fertile Ground, that way this turn we could play the Fertile Ground, but just the witnessing for witness seems like a good line against them. Good value. So this witness will get back. And then I kind of mess up here and forget Bowmaster as a card, so I kind of attack right into Bowmaster, but luckily they actually don't have it, so I'm not punished. Definitely shouldn't have done that before combat, because if they did have the Bowmaster, they easily play Bowmaster, kill the witness, and block the witness. Kill one witness, block the other. I do... Wait, no, not... I thought I did crack the fetch there, but yeah, not playing around Shadow of Doubt. And they play Karin. Okay, so I go and crack there for the Shadow of Doubt, or just saving time being what a yield to turn. My opponent is playing pretty slow. He took a long time there on that Karin of what to get. He knows about the Karin in my hand too, so he still gets the one ring and he marches my Eternal Witness. Sprawl's not too bad. I get to play it and still play Karin. We get to attack into their Karin. And then bring back the Pestering Collar. I'm really just trying to outvalue them, and I don't really, if they do have a second Karin, I don't really want to get something that's going to, be hurt. And the fact they got the ring kind of makes me think they have some way of dealing with the Karin that I already have, so yeah, Cauldron's just something to bring back the Karin if they do kill it. And they in fact do have a second March and a Fatal Push. So they're able to march and then just start drawing up some more cards. Burning Trees, just a free spell here. Play it, and then I can use the Restorative Burst, the other side of the Cauldron, to bring back both the land for the turn, because I want to make sure I keep making these land drops, eventually be able to play the Storm, and bring back the Karin so I can stop their one ring. No point in attacking in, and then here I'm playing around Shadow of Doubt and just gain the forest. I've seen some lists play it. I don't know if they're still playing it or not. Or I don't know if their particular list is playing it, so they have a lot of potential mana. They do tap their Field of Ruin, which is good to see. And they have just So much removal, just killing everything I'm playing. I'm just trying to outvalue them here. I do draw the Nykthos too, as they tapped their field, which is nice. So play out the Kiora, which will give me 4 devotion, so this Nykthos actually, that's positive mana. And then I guess I could actually untap the Utopia Sprawl. I think it's the same amount of net mana here. But it's enough that I can play Storm. I could play the Karn here, and then Karn for like Bridge, which may be a hard thing for them to answer. But I end up storming and getting Oath, and I could get a second Kiora, but the Teferi will allow me to untap a land, and the Oath will add 1 extra devotion. And look at the top 3, put another card in the hand, and they are just really in the tank here. And they do play a 3rd March, this one targeting my Teferi. So I do see the field. I mean, it's mono black devotion. They always field the land when they can. So I'm gonna get the Nykthos. It is revealed, like they see that I have the Nykthos, so maybe they don't field, or maybe they hold off the field and try to, I gotta play around it to try to not untap my land. But no, they just field right there, knowing that I have the second Nykthos. And then they thought seize away my Karn. And attack me down to, or no, they attack Kiora, so Kiora goes down to 2. I had another witness, so I can witness, get back witness, but I won't be able to activate this Nykthos without using Kiora, so I want to save up the Kiora activation. So bring back the Karn. I mean, I guess I still probably would have net mana there if I did bring back Eternal Witness and then use Nykthos, and then played it and then untapped, but maybe not actually. I don't know. So 12 mana, really looking at Karn, trying to figure out what for 8, 9, 10 mana I could do, but my odds are pretty good here with Storm finding me something that's going to either untap this Nykthos or be another Nykthos, or something that's going to make enough mana that I can play Karn and still do something with it. So going in Storm here, and I do find just that, a Grook Wild Speaker and this Fertile Grounds, which will give me a lot of mana. Yeah, give me up to 13 mana, which is enough that I can play Karn. Go get the Chain Veil. Play the Chain Veil. Activate the Chain Veil, which will then allow Grook to be able to untap the Forest and the Nykthos, which would be allowing me to tap for enough mana to activate the Chain Veil again, use Kiora to untap the Chain Veil, use Karn to get back the Cauldron that is now back in exile, use the Burst to bring back Teferi and Kiora, play Teferi, have a few activations because of the Chain Veil and the way that it stacks up, and then I can just go infinite with Teferi and Grook to untap Chain Veil, tap Chain Veil, make a bunch of mana, and then get the Eternal Witness, or get the Walking Ballista, but they concede before I get to do all that, so we kind of get to see the deck actually work here in action one game. So we'll go to game number 2. For game number 2, for the 5th and final match, I am siding in the Veil of Summers. Seems to be a really good card, at least in this league. Siding in both of those. Still tough to side out. Side out the one oath, and then one of the old growths. I don't know, just doesn't seem too great in this matchup compared to some of the other stuff. It is good against Karin though, because it can actually attack and kill into Karin. But it's a tough to decide what side out. They are on the play. Pretty good starting hand here. The turn 1 Veil. They do get to Thoughtseize. They're on the play, so they do get to Thoughtseize before I get to Veil. But even if they Thoughtseize, they kind of have to take the Veil, which then means Utopia Sprawl is good. But they don't have the turn 1 Thoughtseize. I could play Utopia Sprawl, but I don't really have a turn 2 play, so I'd rather just see if maybe they draw the Thoughtseize and I can Veil, or maybe they do something else that I can Veil. They don't, but I also, not punished at all. I didn't draw the 3 drops, so just get to play Utopia Sprawl and still not hold up the Veil Summers. Bowmaster, I could Veil that, I could draw the card, force him to deal the 1 damage to himself, but it doesn't really seem, I'd rather hold up the Veil for something more impactful. Old Growth's pretty good here. They do have the Demolition Field, so I'm just going to use Groot to untap these 2. And then they actually still, or no, they Edict, so Veil doesn't actually even stop against that, so that's fine. And then play the Old Growth, which the 1 left in the deck does block the Bowmaster pretty well. So they do Veil now, or do Demolition Field now, leaving me up Veil mana. No attacks into my 4/4. Another Karin, and I have the other Nykthos, so play 4 mana, use Karin. And I kind of telegraph here that I'm holding up the Veil by getting the liquid metal coating and not playing it. Hopefully they don't see that line too much. And then they do just feel the rune right away, my Nykthos. So I get another forest, and then they Thoughtseize. I'll go and Veil that. And then they could actually ping their token there, and their token would grow at the same rate that it takes the damage. So, but they end up just taking the 1 damage themselves rather than pinging their token. Maybe they don't want to chance the if Magic Online's actually going to do it right or not. Cure is the draw for the turn, so could play Ferroground, and then Coding. So it's a tough choice between the Orborg or the Coffers. As I hit the Orborg, it does make the Coffers worse, but they are holding a second Orborg. It's only better for them because it's a Legend World. Now they get to play out their second Orborg. So I do just go ahead and hit the Coffers for now, hoping that maybe they just are holding the second Orborg, and then play out the Kiora. And the cool thing here is I get to actually untap the Coding, since I don't really need this mana for anything. And then during the upkeep, I can actually also Coding, so I kind of get to hit 2 lands a turn. And then, yeah, they concede to the 2 lands a turn, so they can't stop the killing lands faster than they're playing them. So we do end up finishing up the league 2 and 3, 2-3 league. So that was it. 2-3 league. Did not end up going positive. Did not really get a good showing for this deck. Just some. Really, the 3rd and 4th match were just so one-sided. Just the variance in the draw versus the variance in what they were doing. Just so not good. That Scams deck just still seemed almost more scary than the actual regular normal Scam of just being the it's just the draw of it too. The double griefs, the double grief with the scam, and just, yeah, 4 cards out of the hands with 4 3s left over. Still pretty scary. It's not as consistent, but when it hits, it's still a deck. Veil Summer definitely was good this league, coming in every game. Not very good against the new Merfolk wizard, just being that it doesn't actually target your permanent, it targets the ability, gets around Veil. That just seemed really good against this deck, and having the first 3 matches all play it, being able to target our planeswalkers and not really having a good removal for it, it definitely is not good. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I do still like this deck, even though it didn't perform too well here. I've played in a few leagues. I actually just played it at a local game store, and I went for it with it there. Like it's not the most consistent, but I don't know if it's better or worse than the one in Pioneer. I do think Modern gets to add a lot of cool different things that it can do, but the matches that it has to face up against that they just don't have to worry about in Pioneer definitely makes it a harder meta to play in, even though you do get some nice upgrades to the list. But anyway, again, thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.